In the heart of every Eldar Craftworld, a monster sleeps. A part of the essence of a fallen god, it is a terrifying creature with a molten body that is impossible to truly destroy. This being is roused only when the Eldar go to war, born from the sacrifice of a mighty exarch and capable of decimating the enemies of the Craftworld with its screaming blade. It is the avatar of Kaela Mensha Khaine, the bloody-handed god of the Eldar, and there's possibly one sleeping right behind this door. Glad there's no one else around. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis, and welcome to 40k Stories. The avatar of Khaine is a fragment of Kaela Mensha Khaine, known as the bloody-handed god, who represented war, violence, and death in the pantheon of the Eldar gods. His title comes from the murder of Eldar, the greatest mortal Eldar who fought against Khaine in the time when the gods and mortals walked the same realms. Armed with Anaris, the greatest sword ever forged by the smith god Vol, Eldar went to war with Khaine after Vol's defeat at the war god's hand. But even with this legendary weapon, the mortal could not stand against Khaine for long. His body was crushed, and from that day, Khaine's hands dripped blood. There is an alternative tale, stating that Khaine and Eldar were allied against the foes of the Eldar. The two met, and Khaine offered Eldar dominion over all mortal life in exchange for his loyalty. Eldar refused, Khaine struck him down, and the bloody hands began, along with the war in heaven. Note that this is not the war between the Necrontyr and the Old Ones, even though some say the two are connected. Rather, the war in heaven prompted by Khaine, or perhaps ended by it depending on which legends you believe, is perhaps simply a myth amongst the Eldar. Later, when the fall of the Eldar came around and Slaanesh was born, the new Chaos God decimated the Eldar pantheon, including Asuryan, the Lord of the Gods, who led it. Khaine fought hard against She-Who-Thirst, but was defeated and shattered into fragments, which landed on the Eldar Craftworlds, who survived the fall. This in fact fulfilled the prophecy from Liliath, goddess of dreams and known for her visions, that Khaine would be destroyed by the Eldar. Of course, it was not a literal destruction, but Slaanesh was born from the Eldar's actions, so it definitely counts. It is suspected or suggested that the first war between the Old Ones and the C'tan actually set up the fall. Khaine defeated the Nightbringer, and the explosion of the C'tan's necrodermis infected the war god. This in turn helped the entities born in the warp during the war in heaven to feed upon the fears of mortals and grow in power. When the shards of Khaine landed on the Craftworlds, artifacts of Wraithbone were built around them, and within that chamber, including this one here, the Avatar slumbers until summoned. The Avatar is normally asleep within its chamber, and is only roused when the Craftworld containing it is about to go to war. To bring it to battle, a sacrifice of one of Khaine's chosen is required. Every year, the Farseers of the Craftworld select an exarch to become the young king. Exarchs, for those who don't know, are those Eldar lost on the path of the warrior who lead aspect warriors in battle and represent one aspect of Khaine's warrior nature, pun completely intended. The young king is not a position of authority for the chosen exarch, but rather a ceremonial role that is also a potential death sentence. As the preparations for war begins, the Avatar begins to awaken, and it calls out to all of the Craftworld's exarchs from every shrine. The Avatar's chamber is soon surrounded by those exarchs, who begin to sing hymns of battle and anoint the current young king for what is to come. Eventually, the chamber's door swings open of its own accord, and the young king walks in as the door closes behind them, and the singing continues. The exact timings vary, but after a period of time a chilling scream comes from within the chamber. The young king is gone, and in their place walks the awakened Avatar. The exact fate of the exarch is unknown, as their body is no longer there. It is possible that they are possessed by Khaine's essence, which is backed up by the Avatar's daemonic nature on the tabletop, or that their body is absorbed into the Avatar's molten core to power it, or even that their body is united with Khaine in some other way. There is also a confirmed instance of the Phoenix Lords sacrificing one of the Exarch's souls in their spirit stones to awaken the Avatar, which implies that a body is not actually necessary and possibly debunking the idea of possession. Whatever the case, the Exarch is gone, but the Avatar is roused to war. When the Avatar fights, it is an inspirational presence to all Eldar around it. Nearby warriors are filled with a portion of Khaine's bloodlust and the memories of their race's past glories, driving them on to new victories. The Avatar's signature weapon is known as the Wailing Doom, and though it can take many forms, an axe, a sword, or a spear, it works the same way every time. It can be used at range, launching psychic energy at the enemy. The Avatar isn't a psyker, but its demonic nature is as good as excuse as we're going to get. Personally, I wish he actually threw it like a boomerang, but hey, what can you do? The Wailing Doom, or Suin Dele as it's known in the Eldar lexicon, can appear in many forms, as I said, and is capable of slicing through a battle tank or even a titan as effectively as flesh and flak armor. It even works well against demons and other otherworldly creatures, and takes its name from the scream it emits just as it goes to strike. The Avatar itself has a body of molten metal, which means that any heat-based weapons such as flamers or melter guns are completely useless against it. Many conventional weapons will also fail, as their projectiles simply melt and deal no damage. Rather like other demons, the Avatar is also immortal after a fashion. Should its physical form be destroyed, its essence will reform within the chamber on the Craftworld once more, until it is called for by the next young king. Speaking of Eldar and young kings and sleeping, I haven't actually noticed any Eldar on this ship. I thought they'd have turned up by now. Hang on, I'm just going to go for a look around. I'll be right back. Oh, is this the bridge? Yeah, that's the bridge. There's no one here. Okay, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I think this craft world might actually be empty. I haven't found any Eldar. I haven't even found a Wraith construct. Maybe there's no Avatar anymore. I doubt I'd know. I'm not the bloodthirsty type. It wouldn't be calling to me as I'm not an Exarch. Honestly though, while this seems kind of bad, as I'd love to just shoot the breeze with the Eldar for the rest of eternity, this may well work out in our favour. Assuming I can get this ship working, and as a not engineer and not Eldar, that could be fun, we now have a way to get around the webway with far less risk instead of jumping through portals like lunatics. Quite frankly, the last time we did that, we ended up in flipping Comora. I have got a particular plan that I've got in my head for this little trip, seeing as fate has so kindly dealt me a good hand for once. Might involve a couple of runs through the warp, but I'll work something out. Also, whoever mysterious Eldar voice in my head was, they're long gone. Obviously some dying psychic imprint, or they were abandoning the world, or are currently fighting the Necrons on that tomb world we were just on and I'm nicking the ship. Or I'm just going insane. Who the heck knows? Our expedition, though, will take a good chunk of time to cover. We've got... oh god, how many worlds have we got to visit? Too flipping many. Actually, some of them might be dead, so might not be able to visit those. But there's going to be a lot of travelling in between them. We've got a lot of space to cover. We've got the warp. Not to mention I've got to get the flipping ship fixed up. So I'll probably slot some other short stories in during our adventure. Given the work I've got ahead of me, and the travel to our first stop, I think I'll talk about something else a little bit demonic. See if it spoils the fact that I've done 2 demons in a row, spoils who I've got in mind for next. But for now, we're going to be talking about the living saints. I hope you can join me for that next time, and that you've enjoyed this tale of the Avatar. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis, and I'll see you all again. Goodbye.